Hi there, welcome to our presentation. We're excited to share with you our We Are opening plan today. I want to start with a little intro, a little bit about where we stand as a faculty and staff. So we've had 8 successful weeks of summer camp, hours and hours of research and planning and preparation, and lots of deep discussion. You know, we've been fortunate to have these 8 weeks to really get in here and have school. Although we've only had around 50 students each week, it's helped us with our logistics and procedures. We're strong, we're ready, we have systems and flowcharts and people in place. We will continue to create and build community. We're small, we're able to easily flex, pivot, adapt, and make a move for our students. We're doing what is best for Oakhill. We've listened, we've heard, and we realize each family on this call comes from a different place, a unique situation, a different perspective. This plan is fluid, yet it is the final plan as of today. We will make changes as deemed necessary for our community or as mandated by Clay County Health Department. We are confident and I believe essential. Education is the most important variable in our world. It truly is an equalizer. It's a priority, it's a necessity, and our children of all ages have already lost months of academics, months of learning accommodations, months of social interaction, and months of routine and normalcy. They're not behind, but they've lost a lot. Children, our students, have to learn. Parents, you need educational options so that you can work and survive and thrive. And all of us at Oakhill became teachers or chose to work in this field to deliver high quality education, to offer relationships and positive interactions to students and partner with families. We know we make a difference every day, and we're here for our students, here for our school community, and here to deliver. This is why we were in this noble and necessary field. This is our time. This is our moment to do what we do best. We have teachers and staff who are ready and willing to do just that. This plan was built around the philosophy of our educational model, in person and on campus. We have lots of contingency plans in place to meet the ever-changing landscape of COVID-19. And truthfully, we're going to have to overcome hurdles and roadblocks. We may have to take detours or side trips, but we know we can overcome adversity. We've seen plenty of it in this past year. We welcome your questions as always. After this presentation, just simply reach out. We're here for you. Now we'll get started. So in the introduction, I want to share that physical distancing is temporary and the Oakhill family is forever. We have to remember that some of these policy changes and logistics, they're only meant for the time being. You know, one day, hopefully soon, these will go back to some of our normal traditions and activities. We're very fortunate to be small. We have 2 buildings, we have small class sizes, very little red tape. We can flex in a heartbeat, and we will. Yesterday, I was talking to the Clay County Health Director. We're very fortunate to have such a small environment to do just that. You know, there may be counties out there, maybe even our own, who end up delaying middle school or high school or other grade levels from starting on time or recommending that. But please know that we're small, and you're going to hear in a little while from Mrs. G. We're able to meet those demands and make those changes as necessary. Our approach. Some ask, why are you not just doing what local public schools are doing? Why aren't you just following North Kansas City? The answer is simple. You know, we're our own person. We do what's best for our school and our school community. That's why we're independent. We've spent the summer putting policies, procedures, and people in place to meet all of these challenges head on, with guidance, obviously, from many consultants and the CDC, etc. We have a color code system unique to ourselves. In this case, green is our COVID year normal, with face coverings and distancing and modifications as required or recommended. Yellow would be even more restrictions of the above. We might even have box lunches in classrooms and maybe temporary discontinuation of classes and clubs. And red would mean that we're distance learning, Oakhill at home for students 1 through 8. I do want to note right now that we did make a change with kindergarten. Kindergarten for this year will be considered part of the early childhood division. And even if there is a forced mandate to close non-public schools, pre-toddler through kindergarten would remain in session. Also, just as we do in a terrible flu season, we're going to adjust approaches as necessary. So just know that we'll keep you identified whether we're green, yellow, or red. Our guiding principles. As we were creating this plan, we have to remember who we are. We're an Oakhill family. Safety is a #1 priority. On-campus instruction, that's what we do best. Academic continuity, we want to make sure that students who are not able to be on campus continue receiving a great Oakhill education. School culture and climate is so important that we're, as a small business, that we remain open. It's so important that we take care of our families. And whole child, we're going to do everything we can to take care of the whole child, which you'll hear throughout the presentation today. The role of families. We count on you just as much as you count on us. And after this presentation today and maybe Monday, it might be as late as Monday, you're going to receive the handbook, the school handbook. I ask that you read the entire thing. There will be a COVID addendum, which will pretty much match this plan, but also lots of information in the handbook. So please read that. We are going to ask all families to sign off on the handbook that you have read and understood the policies. Community expectations. I've been asked, will you stay open? I can't make a guarantee. Obviously, we have built a plan to stay open, and that is our goal. We will not close unless forced to close, but I can't guarantee what's going to happen. I don't think any of us can at this point. So just know that we're ready to adapt. The circumstances will continue to evolve, and our goal is to stay open and keep our students in school, but also to remain healthy. Community expectations. We do ask that please, if your child is sick, not feeling well, that you do a thorough check of your child before coming to school. The better we can do that as an entire community, the more we can keep sickness out of our school. Also, so the faculty all summer, and they will continue, they have to do a health screening in the morning. They have to, look at their symptoms. They have to answer questions if they live in a household with anyone who's tested positive for COVID. Have they been in direct contact with anyone who's tested positive for COVID? If any of those things answer yes, they have to contact Nurse Kathy, who's our COVID coordinator, and she walks them through next steps. So again, if you can help keep children who are not feeling well at home, that will help us differentiate from typical sicknesses and COVID much more easily at school. Transparency is important. Again, make sure you do reach out to Nurse Kathy if you have any concerns. Be respectful to one another. I said all summer, just because someone's absent, whether it's a teacher or a student, doesn't mean they have COVID. So please know that the more we can go on facts, the better. Also, we really highly encourage everyone in our community to get a flu shot this year. As we head into September, October, November, it will help us, again, differentiate between the flu and COVID symptoms. And Kathy Bernholtz, so we're so lucky to have her as a full-time nurse here on staff. She is our COVID-19 coordinator and contact for this year. If you have absolutely any questions related to COVID, you don't need to call me, you don't need to call Amy G, you don't need to call Sharon or Jan or your classroom teacher. Your first call has to be Nurse Kathy if it's COVID related. So please make sure you have the school number ready to go, and she will answer those questions quickly. We'll also keep all plans updated. The handbook also is a living document. We'll alert you when there have been changes so that you can have the latest and greatest policies and procedures. And please know that confidentiality is very important. If we have a COVID-19 exposure or case, we might only have to contact a few people. We might have to contact a class, a grade level, a division, a building, or the entire school. But please know that we will respect a family and keep that information confidential unless it's directly related to someone else. So back to school health and safety. We are going to have lots of mandatory training and really performance assessments for each workshop for all faculty and staff during Staff Development Week. But I do want you to know that our cleaning crew, since March 13th, has been performing all of the cleaning tasks necessary for COVID-19. So they are trained. This school is as clean as I've ever seen it. So do know that training has been done, and it has been in place since early March. Hand washing and respiratory etiquette. Know that as teachers, we do it anyway, but you'll see much more frequent hand washing. We'll do training with students, education with students. We're going to make sure they use hand sanitizer, lots of stations throughout the school, and we're going to make sure they are sneezing and coughing appropriately when not wearing a face covering. So know that that's going to be going on regardless of grade level to keep everyone healthy and safe. Physical distancing. We will encourage and remind our entire community to maintain distance, being respectful to one another, especially in interior spaces such as the commons or the gym or the hallways. We're also going to have lots of fun signage around the school to help anyone from our littlest ones to our oldest students and adults know how many people should be in a restroom at a certain time, how many people should be in the project room, where to stand if you're in line for anything. So do know that all of that will be in place and is in place. And even at outdoor gatherings, we're going to ask that everyone do continue to physical distance and be respectful of one another. Again, we all come from a different comfort level, and it's important to be respectful of all families. Face coverings. I am going to kind of read through this just so that I can clarify the best possible. With the rapid increase of positive cases, we are asking all adults to wear face coverings at all times indoors. Exceptions would include when alone in a personal office or classroom space or outside in distance. We also are not allowing just shields for teachers unless they can physically distance from the students. So if they had shields, they will be wearing face coverings as well, unless that distancing is maintained. For students ages 10 and under, for me right now, that is third grade and down. Masks are not required, but are recommended during times when physical distancing cannot be maintained. For instance, these students would be wearing face coverings anytime they're doing group work, anytime they're walking in the hallways, standing in line at lunch. Common sense approach. If they are too close together for these age levels, they will be wearing face coverings. If they're able to distance, they will not. They're not mandatory. Students 10 and over, which in our case we're calling fourth grade and up, will be required to wear face masks when physical distancing cannot easily be maintained. Again, all of the interior spaces from before school to transitions to lunchtime, we know that the transmission occurs more in students 10 and up, so we're going to take that into account and make sure the face coverings are utilized when necessary. I do want to say that face coverings need to fully enclose the mouth and nose. They do need to fit snugly against the side of the face so there are no gaps. They need to be comfortable for the students to wear, so please be practicing at home. They can be homemade or store-bought, but we do ask that bandanas and scarves are not acceptable forms of face coverings. And along with the dress code guidelines, attire with inappropriate messages, slogans, imagery, or symbols are unacceptable. This would include political slogans and offensive phrases. So if you have questions about face coverings, feel free to ask Mrs. G in the South Building or me in the main building. I do want to note on this slide as well that reading tables or science lab tables, we are purchasing some plexiglass partitions for those tables so students can be conducting group work and still be in a safe area. And in smaller classrooms where distancing cannot occur easily, we will also have those divider options. I know Mrs. G will talk more about that. We do have questions about what to do if students refuse to wear them. Just as anything in a school situation, there will be a lot of education, a lot of teaching, some grace given, but at the same time, we're serious about it and we need them to follow rules in school. So please know that that will be maintained. Health screenings. We are taking temp checks for all students this school year. And we've done it all summer. It does go efficiently and effectively, so I know we can make that happen, especially with multiple drop-off points. So again, those temp checks will be done. If a student has a temperature higher than 100.3, they will be asked to go home. So Nurse Kathy will be involved with that as well. The biggest thing you can do as parents is, again, make sure your children are not ill when you send them to school. Attendance. Of course, it's always a priority, but this year it's a heightened priority for us due to contact tracing. So we will be collecting daily attendance this year. If your student is going to be absent, please call the main number and press 3. It's a very simple process to report the absence. If you do not do that and your child is absent, we will be calling you until we get a hold of you to find out why your child is absent. So please make sure that's a priority for your family as well. Visitors. We have an open door policy here at Oakhill. So this is probably one of the more challenging slides I'll read. Currently, we are going to ask that essential visitors are only allowed. And even essential visitors would have to have the health screenings by either Jan or Sharon at the front door. This is just really to keep foot traffic down. Now, if it's absolutely necessary, let's say a parent needs to meet with a teacher or an administrator, let's say a parent desperately needs to contact their child, obviously we're going to make that happen. But just in general, visitors will be limited this year, or at least in the beginning of this year, just because of the heightened cases. Cleaning, disinfecting, and sanitizing. This is a pretty big, important slide. I feel like we've always done a good job, but I can say since heightened flu season in February, this has been a huge priority for us. In light of COVID, we have added 2 full-time day crew. It is amazing to step out into the hallway and seeing someone clean every high-touch surface multiple times a day, including public bathrooms. We have cleaning protocol created for teachers within the classrooms this year. Not that they didn't do that, but you will see more of that. It will be a checklist that teachers have to go through. There will also be schedules for lunch cleaning between lunch sections, cleaning between recesses as well on the outdoor equipment. We also have electrostatic sprayers that we're going to use to disinfect rooms 2 to 3 times per week. We have put door pulls on the public restrooms to assist so they don't have to touch the door handles. We have lots of face shields available for staff, plexiglass dividers for the front offices at each campus. Disinfectants, we have food safe quality for lunchrooms with 1-minute kill time. Those of you who want to look into products, we're using Oxivir 516, and in the kitchen, BioEsk. So again, if you want more information on that, the person to contact is Catherine Dodson, our Director of Auxiliary. She oversees the facilities and has handled all of this equipment this summer. We have lots of hand sanitizer stations, touchless soap dispensers for public restrooms, touchless faucets. We've actually changed the filters in our HVAC units to MERV 13. If you want to research that, that is the best filter we can have in our current HVAC systems. So again, this is a very important piece for us, and I feel like we have done and are doing an incredible job and will continue to do so. Water fountains. Unfortunately, we won't allow the students to drink out of the water fountains this year, but each of the water fountains will have a fill station. So we do ask all students to bring water bottles, and we'll make sure there's plenty of time to keep those filled and keep our students hydrated. Classroom practices and cleaning. A little bit here, classrooms in the lower, intermediate, and middle school divisions. We're going to do our best to set those students up 3 to 6 feet apart as classrooms will allow. Again, for smaller classrooms, we will have the plexiglass shields to help with that. Lots of outdoor instruction utilized. That is our encouragement this year. And we have several outdoor classroom options available, which we continue to add to. We also have several indoor spaces available with room to spread out. I'm going to now just real quick turn it over to Mrs. G for a few minutes I want her to talk, specifically about intermediate and middle school, a few of the highlights that go along with this slide. Mrs. G?
Thank you, Mrs. McCandless. This summer we have reconfigured the South building so that the 4th and 5th grade intermediate division will be together in a wing. So we will not be utilizing lockers or hives to avoid students from congregating or just congesting the halls. We will be asking teachers that they help the students with organizing areas in the classroom for big textbooks, which we really don't use very many of, but also places that they can store their notebooks to avoid having them carry really, really heavy backpacks. There are 40-minute classes this year. We've cut a couple minutes down so that we have 5-minute passing periods so that we can make sure kids have time to disinfect, help the teachers, the classrooms, or to find a station to wash their own hands and get prepared to go to another space. Intermediate homerooms. So each child, there'll be 2 4th grade homerooms and 2 5th grade homerooms. And those students will travel to their math, science, comm arts, and science classes as a group. They will stay together. Throughout the day, they might be with their whole grade level, and that would be during PE or recess or lunch. So they will this year, 4th and 5th, go between all 4 of those teachers. They will, Mrs. Boyd will be comm arts, Miss Vinson, social studies, Mr. Hall, math, and our new science teacher, Miss Henshaw. The middle school will be primarily the core classes upstairs. I've moved the other special teachers, Senora Walker Holmes and Sarah Verwers, down to the old 4th grade rooms. So we have sort of a specialist wing. Advisories will be configured by grade level this year, which is different. We've done multi-grade level, but with the current pandemic, we really want to try to keep our students in their grade level families so that we can avoid any kind of spread of the COVID-19. So there will be 2 6th grade advisories, 2 7th grade advisories, and 2 8th grade advisories. They will not necessarily stay with those groups in class periods throughout the day, but they will be only by grade level. So they'll mix up by grade level only. The students maybe aren't going to be excited about this, but 1st quarter electives are going to be preset by grade level under an umbrella of fitness. So we're going to talk about mental fitness, physical fitness, nutrition, financial fitness. There will be some study halls in your book. And we're hoping that come 2nd quarter, we'll be able to open up the elective choices so that they can mix more. And we're also hoping to move the drama production to the 4th quarter. Before school, after school, during lunch, I have areas that grade levels will be assigned in the big common areas. It is not assigned seating, it is assigned areas. So I have shared those areas with our cleaning staff, and they know when kids are moving out of the area. They know to come and disinfect those tables before another group might move in the area. Lunches are very staggered, so there will be no 2 grade levels going through the lunch line except for 7th and 8th grade. And again, we have outdoor seating, and we're going to keep it those 8 round, the 8 top tables. There will only be allowed 4 students with a seat in between. In order to focus on to get smaller groups of students in the first couple of days and provide a more focused approach on orientation, day 1 on Thursday, August 20th, we are asking only 6th and 7th grade students to attend. There will be team building. We're going to have a social distancing Olympics for the 6th and 7th grade. Things that like heads or tails, Simon Says, fun things. And then it'll give us time, though, to really just focus on those 2 grade levels and a detailed orientation about the new protocols and how we're going to move throughout our day safely. Day 2, so Friday, August 21st, we will have the intermediate division, 4th and 5th, along with our 8th graders that day. The 8th graders will begin the day at Chicken and Pickle. That was one field trip I couldn't let go. So just because it's a special year for them. And then they will return to the building for their orientation. And luckily, Tucker Leadership from William Jewell College has agreed to come to us this year. So the 4th and 5th grade they'll go one at a time, 4th grade first and then 5th grade for team building here right on our campus. And then the afternoon will be left for their detailed orientation and going over the protocols. I know that some of the recommendations are coming out not to open middle schools to start with elementary or even younger. I'm just assuring you as of today, we have 65 middle school students. We're not talking 500 a grade level. It's very doable. None of our classes are over 12 students. So we have these nice big classrooms. Our kids are old enough on that campus to understand the importance of the face coverings. I will be encouraging teachers to take mask or face covering breaks as much as possible. So maybe they're doing silent reading and they can really spread out. So give those kids just a chance. I know I need them throughout the day, so I imagine the students. And of course, they will wear them through the lunch line, but then they'll be able to take them off at lunch. They'll be able to take them out outdoors. And we really kind of have the schedule set up so that they'll have mask or face covering breaks throughout the day. So we're not trying to space 500 kids, and this is where our small class sizes has really been an advantage for Oakhill Day School. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to call me. Thank you.
Thanks, Mrs. G. Well, now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over. The next session is the COVID-19 response plan. Nurse Kathy, our COVID coordinator, will talk a little bit about if we have cases.
Thank you. Hello. I am going to go over with you the COVID response plan that we have in place and what to expect when we have a case of COVID in our community. We're asking you to monitor your child every morning prior to arriving to school. If your child is ill, please keep them home. If your child becomes ill while they're at school, they will be sent home if they have a temperature over 100.3 and if they present with any 2 or more COVID-like symptoms. Students will need to stay home for 72 hours to monitor those symptoms. They can, however, return back to school prior to the 72 hours if they've been seen by a doctor and if they've been given a written return that they could come back to school stating that either they had a negative COVID test or no COVID test was necessary because they didn't meet the criteria for being tested. If a teacher or student tests positive for COVID or is exhibiting common symptoms of COVID, they will need to self-isolate at home and follow the instructions per their healthcare provider. If a teacher tests positive for COVID-19 and does not have symptoms, they will need to self-isolate at home for 10 days after the positive test. If we do have a positive case in our community, we will act immediately to work with the health department and do an extensive contact tracing to determine who and what areas of our schools were directly affected. Our goal is to keep the community safe and healthy, but at the same time, keeping the kids at school. We will not react by closing the entire school unless we're mandated by the Clay County Health Department, and we will take each individual case as it comes. If a teacher, spouse, or partner, student's parent, or anyone living in the household has tested positive, the student or the staff member will need to quarantine for 14 days from the last exposure. They need to monitor their symptoms and avoid contact with others and call their healthcare provider for further instructions. If a teacher or student has been notified by the public health officials that they have been in close contact with somebody who has tested positive, they should self-quarantine for 14 days since the last contact with that person. Close contact is within 6 feet for more than 15 minutes. When can a teacher and a student return back to school? After a student and teacher have been diagnosed with COVID, they can return to school after they are fever-free for 24 hours and without any fever reducers. Their symptoms have improved, and it's been 10 days since their first symptoms appeared. If you have a test done to determine whether or not you're contagious, you can come back to school after you no longer have a fever, after your symptoms have improved, and you've received 2 negative tests in a row within 24 hours apart. If you were positive and you are asymptomatic, you may return 10 days after your positive test. We have put together a quick flow chart for you to easily identify what steps to take if your student has COVID symptoms. It's pretty much the same thing that I just went over with you. It's just kind of in a chart form. And one other thing I just wanted to mention is that we will send updates to the parents and faculty that are affected by a positive case that has come within our community. I want to thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me with anything COVID related.
Thank you, Nurse Kathy. Again, I know that's a lot of information and so many scenarios that are possible. If you have any questions at all, just contact Kathy and she will walk you through and help you understand the process. All right, back to school. Small class sizes. We have 350 students spread across 2 campuses. We have no more than 16 students in a classroom space at any given time. No more than 32 students are in a gym or recess space at any given time, and no more than 50 students are in a cafeteria or common space at any given time. So knowing these small numbers will really help mitigate the spread and also assist with contact tracing. Rosters. This year, we are having a parent preview on August 12th. This parent preview is a brand new event. We do ask for you to leave your children at home for this event to minimize foot traffic. On that date, you will receive your homeroom teacher information, as well as your advisory information and your schedule for intermediate and middle school. We will be sending an electronic postcard to each family after this event, so you'll see the entire grade levels placement. We do ask that if anyone has any kind of requests, that they put those in writing to me as soon as possible. It takes a lot to put these rosters together, and we want to make sure we have accurate numbers and accurate information on who will be attending. Thank you. Staggered start and end times to the school day. As we put in the last communication, we've decided to definitely reduce the volume of students arriving or dismissing at any given time. Even though we have a small population, this helps us do all of our temp checks, etc., more efficiently and effectively. Again, lower school and intermediate school will start at 8:20 and end at 3:20. Early childhood and middle school will start at 8:40 and end at 3:40. Part of why we chose the late start for early childhood and middle school, harder to get the little ones around, and middle school, science says they need more sleep. So we're giving them a few extra minutes of sleep. Car line. Please know that all of the details of car line, which door to go to for arrival, which door for pickup, that is all in the handbook, and it will be detailed. We'll also be sending more information. But for the plan purposes, just know that car line will exist at both campuses. It'll be familiar, what you're used to. The only difference will be there will be temp checks. So again, please read that handbook to find out all of the detailed information on arrival, as well as dismissal. Food service. I know Mrs. G went over some of the food service for the South building. Please know that Justin and Lauren have been working all summer here at the summer program. They've been practicing some of the delivery methods, etc. I feel like we have a good system down. And depending on what color-coded level we're at, things could change. We plan to start the year with our classrooms, kindergarten and up, eating in the commons. We have more staggers to our lunches. We also are reducing the capacity of all of the tables by half. We will keep grade levels more than 6 feet away from one another if there are 2 grade levels in common space at the same time. The other thing to note is if we change to a yellow level, all students would then eat in their classrooms and be served there. Know that condiments, etc., will not be shared anymore. They will be individually packaged. We are eliminating walk-ups to refill drinks, etc. I've asked Justin to take all of this information and put it in a document and send that out. So he will be sending all of the detailed information out either this afternoon or Monday morning. And please feel free to contact Justin for any lunch details, and he'd be happy to walk you through those procedures. Also, mercantile snacks, booster club snacks, and event food and snacks. Mercantile will have prepackaged. Also, booster and event will all be individually packaged. We did have some questions come through about birthday treats. Please know that that's still very important to us. You can definitely go through Justin in food service if you want him to help with birthday snacks, or make sure your birthday treats are individually packaged, and we can make sure that happens as well. Now we're moving to teaching and learning. I do want to kind of read through this. I know you can read, but I want to make sure I reiterate a few things. The delivery of high quality classroom instruction, which is Oakhill at School, will continue, providing our students with valuable in-person interaction with faculty members and with each other. Additionally, we have a high quality distance learning program called Oakhill at Home, and that will be in place for scenarios in which an entire classroom or grade level is forced to quarantine, or if Oakhill is forced to close by a local, state, or federal mandate on all non-public schools. So this distance learning model, we have had a group of teachers and administrators working on this since April, and it is incredible. You definitely will see more details about that. We have lots of enhancements since the last go around when we were not prepared. There will be a lot more synchronous or live time. It will follow schedules. And this is in place for 1st through 8th grades. Remember, kindergarten and down would remain on campus unless we had a mandate to close daycares across the state, which it hasn't happened, and I hope it does not happen. Now, the third possibility here is called a remote learning model. So we have a remote learning model which will be in place, ready to go for a student who has to be gone for a certain period of time because they have to quarantine, for a student who is not able to come back to in-person learning due to a health concern, for a student who is not ready to come back to school, or for parents who are not comfortable sending their child back in person. The remote learning model is going to be a very personalized approach. You will be able to extend that for a longer period of time if necessary. And I will talk a little bit more in a second. We have people in charge of that who will make sure it meets your families and your students' needs. I do want to reiterate, we are not like North Kansas City. We are not offering a virtual all year option. We can personalize a plan for a family. So again, if your family is not comfortable in person, you can definitely contact Dorothy Beckham or me, and we can walk you through that particular option. We want our own teachers and staff to lead our distance learning and remote learning option. We do not want to outsource that to another company. That's why we're doing it in this way. So again, we have in class, on campus, that's our main model. We have a distance learning program if we have to close due to a mandate, and we have a remote learning option all the time for students who are unable to come back to school or families who are uncomfortable in sending their child back to school. The other thing to note is that we will have school issued devices for 1st through 5th grades, and 6th through 8th grades have school-issued laptops. Special classes. There are many schools that are eliminating special classes during the COVID year. I will say that is important to us to maintain these special classes. That's part of who Oakhill is. So students will travel to special classes unless further restrictions are deemed necessary. I do want to mention why that is. There are some models out there where the special teachers go into the student's homeroom. As I said to my teachers yesterday, your homeroom or your science lab or your music room, that is your house. And it is important for you to keep your house clean. I would not want someone else coming into my house. I want to have my own rules and regulations. So that is why we're having students travel. That way, art teachers, music teachers, science teachers, Spanish teachers, tech-query teachers, PE teachers, they can keep their own house clean. With that being said, art, depending on the division, there will be a plan with supplies. Some of the supplies obviously will be separate from others. Lower school students will have individual supplies for class, as well as community supplies that go through a thorough cleaning process. Music, our music teachers are developing innovative lesson plans while adhering to the limitations on singing indoors and the requirements for physical distancing. Students will be able to sing in the classrooms with face coverings or shields. Students are able to sing outside without face coverings and shields when appropriately distanced. So we will definitely let you know more about programs later. And as Mrs. G said, our intent is to move the drama production to 4th quarter in hopes that it can happen at that time. Science. Science will be conducted outside where curriculum allows or where innovation and experiential learning allow. Science equipment will be cleaned between classes or placed in a bin for end-of-day cleaning, and they will be individualized within the classroom and cleaned thoroughly between classes. Spanish will also have same protocol as core classroom teachers, social distancing within the classroom where possible, and utilizing facial coverings when distancing isn't possible. They can also use outdoor spaces to conduct classes. And for tech-query will be having class in the library. They will go through all of those processes as well. Return books, they will sit in a designated tub for 72 hours, after which they will be wiped down on the outside and reshelved. So definitely there will be lots of new procedures for the special classes, but I'm excited that we'll be able to conduct those in a safe manner. Recess, there's never been a time recess is more important than now for our students. So they will continue to have just as much recess, if not a little bit more at times. A recess schedule has been built for all grade levels. They will be going out in grade level family units, and those teachers will adhere to those schedules. Cleaning will be conducted between playground schedules to make sure the equipment is sanitized. Athletics. We do plan, again, to begin both volleyball and cross-country seasons. Both Kellen Smith and Tim, Coach Ziggy, have been working on these plans. They've been using the Missouri State High School Association's health plan information, as well as talking with the leagues. So these guidelines are being built. I do anticipate spectators being limited at home games, at all games. More information will come on that as time allows. So we'll be back with you with specifics, but I do know that there will also be guidelines for specific practices and how to get the students to those practices safely. Physical education. We're going to conduct PE outside as possible. The curriculum will be modified to eliminate contact games and sports. And when outside in physical distancing, students will not be required to wear face coverings. During indoor PE, if students cannot distance, then face coverings may be worn. And all equipment will be cleaned between classes, or again, placed in a bin for end-of-day cleaning. Kids Club. I'm going to talk a little bit about Kids Club, but just as I did food service, I'm going to let you know that Taylor Clevenger, who's done a phenomenal job this summer, he has put together a very detailed handbook about Kids Club, along with pricing, detailed drop-off information and pickup information, valet service information, all of that. So I'm going to skim through it. Please know that's coming out either tonight or Monday morning, and he will be your contact person for all Kids Club information. This year, what has been important for us is that we keep these family groups maintained. So we are actually asking our normal teaching staff to consider either doing a morning shift or an afternoon shift for Kids Club so that we can keep those students in their grade level classrooms with their grade level peers. Because of this, it has made Kids Club more challenging for staffing circumstances. We're having to probably triple our staff in many instances. So although currently we say that there is shortened hours for Kids Club, if you are a family that has, both parents who absolutely cannot make it by 5 o'clock, if you have no one else who can help you, if you're desperate for care beyond 5, contact Taylor. He is going to do his best to help you in any way possible while still staying true to our plan. So just know he's there to help answer those questions. Again, a little bit more, I just want to explain why we're not having drop-ins. We did not have drop-ins this summer for the same reason of stability. It's really important for us to know who's coming. It's important for staffing, and it's important for contact tracing. So although, again, remember this is temporary, we will not be allowing drop-ins this year. After school classes, any classes that will be offered after school will still be grade level participation only. Again, that's to keep our family groups together. We will be offering tutoring. We will be offering music lessons. If you're interested, definitely get a hold of Brenda Bach for tutoring or Taylor Clevenger for music lessons. Panther parties, buddy families, and reading buddies are so important to Oakhill. We're so proud of these community building activities. I can promise that they still will go on, but they will look different. We have creative people behind the scenes thinking of how to make these community building activities happen without being together. It might be outdoor possibilities. It might be virtual possibilities. It might be very small family group possibilities. But we'll keep you informed and make sure community building remains a huge part of Oakhill. Panthers on the Prowl. Anyone who's interested in these classes, Coach Ziggy will be sending out information. They also will be grade level offerings, and we'll also have many health checks go on prior to after school classes. It's been a long time since their temp check in the morning, so we're just going to make sure they still feel well for the afternoon classes as well. So again, Coach Ziggy will be sending out information regarding Panthers on the Prowl. We're proud of our before school clubs. We do intend to have those. This year they will be grade level only, and information will be sent out once those teachers prepare their programs and offerings. Field trips. We do a lot of field trips at Oakhill. For the current time, we are suspending field trips, but I will say that we're going to look for virtual field trip options. We're going to look at things that we might be able to push off possibly to the fourth quarter, and then look at those at that time. Our overnight trips, especially for middle school, those will continue to be on the calendar. We will evaluate the status of the pandemic this spring. I think the first trip is not planned until April. That gives us a little bit of time to monitor what's going on in our world. School events. We did leave school events on the calendar, and we did that just as a placeholder. Events and traditions and activities are really important to us. We also understand the need for health and safety. So please know that if an event's on the calendar, we're going to look at that, adapt it, modify, or suspend the event as the school deems appropriate. For instance, Grandparents' Day will be virtual this year. You're going to hear more information about dates and how that's going to work. But just know that just because they're on there doesn't mean business as usual. It just means it's a placeholder, and we will let you know what that event will look like prior to, probably 3 to 4 weeks prior to the event. PTO, our parent-teacher organization, obviously they're working hard behind the scenes to make sure that anything they do is safe. It is important to maintain community, and that's what this group does best. So as we get to our first party, which is a Halloween party, there will be a lot of discussion prior to that, what we can do, what we can't do, what we should do and shouldn't do. So we'll keep everyone, we'll be in touch with everyone to keep you apprised of that. They'll also be able to hold PTO coffees and meetings. They might be in person, distancing and wearing face coverings. They might be virtual, but we'll have a lot of creative people adapting all of these plans to meet the needs of not only COVID-19, but our community. So the social and emotional learning. I want to first kind of paint a picture. Prior to COVID-19, we recognized the need for a more layered approach to support for all students. So we took the opportunity to change a few roles, add a few roles. We added a wellness counselor. So Maggie Chandler will be here. She will be helping all students and families from pre-toddler through 8th grade this year. We also have Brenda Bach, who is the student success specialist. She's transitioned from division head for early childhood and lower school to this role, which suits her incredibly. That's her gift. So the way I see it is the child is kind of the center of a bicycle spoke on a wheel, and all of the spokes are support pieces. You have your homeroom teacher, you have your specialist, you have your advisor, your administrator. Brenda is the student success specialist, your wellness counselor, your remote learning coordinator, if applicable, and the family. And together, we're all there to hold this student up and make sure they're getting what they need. So I'm excited about all of this support that we're offering. And regardless of COVID, it's the best thing for our students. This year, we had to incorporate a remote learning coordinator. As I mentioned earlier, there will be students who are unable to attend Oakhill for a variety of reasons. Trish Stripling, she is going to be the bridge for that, for school and home. And she's going to help families navigate curriculum and expectations to ensure that continuous learning environment for students. She'll be able to make sure those students have peer interactions with their homeroom, that the family and student have interactions with the homeroom teacher, that certain lessons are videoed so that they can be played back for the students. So we're really excited about being able to offer this bridge. It's not just distance learning, it's not just in school, but this remote learning coordinator position. Again, if you have questions about that, I'd be happy to answer, and that will be something some families are most comfortable with in the beginning. I also want to, this still talks about remote learning here. Again, I want to reiterate, because I know we had 3 or 4 questions come in yesterday about this. This is for students who are unable to attend classes on campus due to an illness. They're unable to come because of a health concern. Their family is uncomfortable for sending them for a given amount of time. And even if we had a family who wanted to extend this beyond a short amount of time, we are small enough that we can personalize an approach to this. So again, if you have any concerns, whether it's you're not comfortable or your child cannot come, please contact Dorothy Beckham or me to discuss, and we will let you know what options you have. The distance learning plan, we had an hour-long presentation to our faculty, so that's how comprehensive this plan is. You will receive more information about it, but please know that a group of about 12 or 13 teachers and administrators spent countless hours putting this plan together based upon your survey, teacher surveys, etc. So we'll have, again, one-to-one devices for grades 1 and up. We'll have streamlining number of applications used for instruction, funneling that student information through one central location, reworking the schedules and online grading systems, lots of training opportunities for students and parents, lots of PD for teachers, and lots of increased live instruction time. And again, to reiterate, early childhood and kindergarten will not be going to distance learning. They will stay on campus unless someone dictates that all daycare facilities have to close down. More about the distance learning program. Just know that, again, our model is not built to have to do distance learning. Distance learning is if we're forced to close down. Can I guarantee that? Absolutely not. I wish I could, but please know we're going to do all we can to keep Oakhill open, safe, and healthy. I appreciate you taking time to watch this presentation. I've tried to answer questions that came through that were submitted online. If you have any other questions specific to your family, please know we're here. I know you may think we're busy, but you can call us, you can email us. We would be happy to meet virtually, whatever you need to do. We want you to be comfortable to come back. Now, let's say that you've listened to our plan and this is not for you, okay? Then you need to contact me or Dorothy Beckham, and you need to contact us before August 7th to let us know. We're trying to complete classroom rosters and class splits and get staffing in place. So it's really imperative that we know kind of how you feel as a family if you're choosing to go a different direction, and we completely understand. You know, we've built this model for Oakhill, but we respect anyone's decision. So again, if you have questions or concerns, let us know by August 7th and contact either me or Dorothy Beckham with that information. Thanks so much. We look forward to an incredible year. Please know we're confident, we're ready, and we can't wait to see your kids back on campus. Thank you.